is up, everybody? Welcome to the Humble Threads podcast. It's crazy. We're on episode 10. My name is David Graves, as always, and
my name is Michael Hart.
Mike, it's crazy. And guys, I want to give you even more of an update. We talk about it every episode, but we're at 240 right now. 240. By the time this comes out and we get to the next episode, maybe we'll be at 300. You guys are amazing. We love you guys as fans, and we're happy you tune in, and everyone's just as ecstatic as we are when we record. Mike, what has been going on in your life these past 2 weeks, buddy?
Yo, I mean, like, something that hasn't happened to me in a very long time happened. And we'll dive into that a little bit. But I mean, one thing that I wanted to talk about, kind of just to get it out, is the fact is like how stoked I am as a 30-year-old married man to have a new lawnmower. And that is just so out of left field, and I get it. But like, so I typically have like the run-of-the-mill, like gas-powered, pull the chain, walk-behind mower. I only have about a quarter of an acre where I live. So it's not that big of a space to mow, but it's still a pretty decent space, a quarter of an acre. Much bigger backyard than I have front yard. My backyard is a complete like down incline hill. So it was always a bit of a struggle with this like classic mower without it. It wasn't self-propelled. It wasn't anything. It was just got to push it and like do work. And it was always to the point of like straight up exhaustion doing it. But like I always justified to myself because I'm not like a big like going to the gym kind of guy. And so I was like, all right, so I'm gonna mow the lawn, and that's gonna be like my workout because of how like actual working out it works because of how inclined my backyard is. And this past winter, my dad called me and he goes, hey, I've been on Facebook Marketplace or something, and I found this guy in their town just selling a bunch of yard stuff. I guess he's moving away, he doesn't want it. And he bought the entire lot. I was like, you're crazy. And he goes, I just took it all because I know you need stuff, I need stuff, my sister needs stuff. And he's like, I just got it all. It was a good deal. Oh, and by the way, there's a new mower in there, and it's an electric mower. And I was like, okay, like I don't know how good that is, or is an electric mower going to be as powerful or as good as a gas powered one? I had no idea. I'm not like mechanically educated. Yeah, right, to that degree at least, to think that an electric one would be the same. But this year I was like, all right, well, it's here, ready to go, put it in. And I went to go try to charge the battery. Turns out the battery was already charged. So that was a plus. Realized that this whole thing was so light, and like you could like throw it around. It was super easy to move around, and it has a self-propel in it. So here at the casa at my house here, we had this a nice little cornered front yard and then a larger backyard, and so I got this in the middle of the winter when you're not at all thinking about mowing your lawn. So I didn't really give it too much mind, right? But I got it out, and it changed my life. And that sounds like pretty mundane to most, but like as a 30-year-old dude that's got a lawn to mow, having a lawnmower that really just nails it just makes a huge difference. And being able to have my lawnmower pull me up this steep hill while cutting and doing the job just felt like, I don't know, I felt like I had cheat codes on my lawnmower. And, like it's so interesting to think about that, like how like a simple little upgrade of just having a self-propelled, having it to be being a little lighter maybe, not having to worry about is there gas in it. I just have to charge this external battery that you plug in, kind of like a power drill. Super cool. Like it was a complete chance. My dad was like, yeah, I just found this and bought it. Like it's yours now. And I don't know. I'm very, very grateful. I don't know if you've taken action to cut your own lawn yet. The weather's getting much nicer out there.
Mike, I will say I understand your excitement because I remember when we first moved in, Ashley's dad got us a electric lawnmower, but this one was corded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so imagine cutting like it. I don't know if you haven't seen our side yard yet, but it's kind of like yours. It goes down everything. So if it unplugs, I got to walk back up the hill, plug it back in, walk back down, make sure I'm not cutting the wire. So we eventually got a gas one off someone from Facebook Marketplace, and it was life-changing. I loved it. I have not cut my lawn yet.
Yeah.
Me and my neighbor have a battle because he likes cutting the lawn. So he'll cut ours and his, and I try and get it before he does. He's like, nah, don't worry about it. But then Ashley's always like, yeah, well, it needed to be cut. Maybe we should have got out there. And then that's when I come back with the smart remark like, "Well, I'm doing all the chores, so and then it just gets so it's hilarious, but we go back and forth. But yeah, getting a decent lawnmower is life changing, especially when it's scorching outside. You got to cut it.
Oh yeah,
I understand your happiness on that one.
Oh yeah, we're in full mode over here. We've been like spraying the perimeter of our like our foundation of our house to stop bugs coming in when the new weather. I've been taking out some recent like wasp nests that are showing up around our deck, and just kind of getting it ready because it's becoming that time of year when people are going to want to be outside or spend more time out on the deck or just in the backyard in general. So we're trying to get it to a position where it's very inviting.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, besides like the mundane side of life, like something happened to me, and I'm so glad. Me and Dave were actually we were actually out at a bar together with a bunch of our friends and mutual acquaintances, and something happened to me like that I haven't really experienced for maybe since school, like high school, maybe
or college,
like
college,
or maybe like maybe college, like I don't know, like there's. So here's the skinny. Like here's basically this is basically what happened. So a friend of a friend of a friend, I guess, got invited to come hang out with all of us. And whether it was a good idea or not, was besides the point, because when the guy arrived, he was super cordial. He shook our hands, he wanted to get to know us. He acted like he was the friendly kind of dude, and that was super cool. The one thing that like kind of started giving me red flags though is like he started complaining about how much money he makes or how long his bank takes to like cash his checks or whatever, and that's fine, whatever. It should be noted that I am a little bit older than the group that we were hanging out with. I'm 30 years old. Most of the people at the group were like 24, 25 in that era of age. So I've got a little bit of time on them, but that's in the grand scheme of things, 5 years isn't that big. But I've done some things that maybe a lot of the group hadn't yet or hasn't done yet. But that's besides the point at the current moment. So anyway, so this kid's just kind of talking. He's kind of being a loudmouth. He kind of lets on that he's already had a few drinks before he showed up at the bar. Immediately starts ordering tequila shots left and right. Tequila shot, tequila shot, tequila shot. Like I think in a span of maybe an hour and a half, he'd had like 3 tequila shots and a beer or something. So he was already getting pretty fired up. And he's being very playful with our waitress or server, I think is a more politically correct term. But so our server is coming around and he's being very playful. He's starting to make jokes and crack him at the table. He's like, yo, I can get this girl's number. Kind of like some serious toxic masculinity. And it just kind of became like a joke kind of at the table. It's like we were all kind of playing around with him, being like, dude, kind of take it easy, dude. Like you're not all that in a bag of chips. Like you're just kind of coming in here with this attitude, and and like unfortunately the server was kind of playing into it a little bit. Maybe the server mildly overserved him, it's possible, but she seemed like she was playing along with the atmosphere of the table, even though it was not a positive environment. And so like it got to the end of the evening, and he was getting very kind of aggro about it, starting to like try to get one of my friends to bet him money that he could get this number. And we're all just at this point very like almost kind of really disgusted or like disinterested that he's even trying this hard to do this. And I made a side comment to him kind of saying like, dude, just let it go, man. Like, this is not important. Like you don't, and whatever I said, like I wasn't meant trying to cause any kind of, confrontation, but the kid, like a switch flip. I'm sure every one of us or someone has experienced it in their life when they've been talking with someone who's been a little bit emotional or aggressive, and all of a sudden something is said and is taken out of context, and someone just snaps, right? Mm-hmm. Like they see red and they just got to go full bore. And this dude starts to step towards me and, says some really, really disrespectful things. And keep in mind, my wife's at the table, my wife's sister's at the table, and a bunch of like mutual friends are at the table. And this kid just starts really getting aggressive with me because I guess I must have hurt his feelings, or at least I tried to tell him what was really going on, and he wasn't okay with the fact that his level of like toxic masculinity wasn't okay, and how dare I tell him that he can't succeed at getting some girl's number. And he just starts really bad mouthing off at the table. Called me like he called me a bitch. He called twice to my face, and then once to my wife. And like it got to the point, but keep in mind the whole time I'm just sitting there very quiet. I'm just kind of absorbing it. I'm not fighting back. I'm not even like engaging with the dude. Eventually he walks away and kind of, just leaves the table. But he's just going off. He starts going at me being like, how much money do you make? I bet I make more than you. And then like, cussing me out more. I thought in my head, like my head works really funny ways. Like I feel like I can absorb a circumstance from multiple perspectives. But in my head, the whole time he's trying to shout at me that he makes more money than me, he's forgetting that he told me how much money he was making when he first sat down at the table when he was complaining about his money. Yep. So I already know that I make more money than this kid does, and I don't have to prove myself. Like there's nothing and I realized to myself, like I'm 30 years old. I'm not claiming I'm like crazy wise or anything like that. But at this point in my life, being married, owning a home, going through college, having been having the careers I've had, I know how to pick my battles. And I just realized, I was like, wow, if whoever this kid is, who I literally just met maybe an hour ago, if he is this fueled to defend his toxic actions, that there is something much larger at play here. And this kid is probably dealing with something, going through something, has some level of trauma in his past that is kind of producing this character in this moment that's being so hateful. And I just chose, I was like, look, there's nothing I can do to engage. If I engage, it gets worse. If I stand up, it gets worse. If I even move towards them, it gets worse. And, little did I know, a little bit after the show, or like kind of after all went down, Dave kind of tells me, he says, yo, man, I was about to, I was about to step in and make sure things were okay. And, talking to Dave after the fact was really interesting because, he provided a little bit of an extra perspective to it. We'd love to kind of hear him live here on the show as terms of what his take of the whole thing was, because it was insane. Like this kind of stuff shouldn't happen outside of like a sitcom or like a college bar movie. It was something else. Dave, yeah, from an outside perspective, man. We'd love to know what you think.
I just need to say, let me preface who I am going back towards these type of situations, and then I'm gonna dive into it. I was always a quiet kid. I like to observe. I don't like to, hop in on things. I like to observe people. I like watching people. So generally I categorize people in certain ways, and I know what type of people are what type of people by the time I meet you, if you get what I'm saying. So our friend invites us out, like Mike said. Our friend has a friend that particularly, there's some type of animosity towards me because there's another friend who's a female that I guess he's interested in. And we're kind of good friends, and I guess he doesn't like that. So it's something, you can feel the friction in the air. I've been in these situations before. I know how people are. I can feel it. But anyway, so I get to where we're at, and I sit there, and I like to analyze situations. So I see Mike. I'm like, yo, there's Mike. What's going on, Mike? I see our other friend. I say, yo, what's going on? I see our other friends at the end. And then I see this kid. And the way he's joking, I'm looking at him, and I'm like, oh. First, I thought he was one of our friends' boyfriends. Not the case. He was just sitting there. But I kind of saw him, and I can tell that he's having these passive-aggressive jokes towards me, and I can feel it. So I can feel him slightly trying to get at me, but not knowing where he should come with it. And I'm just sitting there like, okay. So it's like, all right, whatever. And I'm sitting on this edge of the table. I don't like the vibe. Immediately, I don't like the vibe. I get up, I move, and I sit down with our other friends, and I tell them what's going to happen. I say, yo, this is what's going to happen. He's going to keep joking around. He's going to disrespect the waiter, and then he's going to try and fight one of us. And then my friend's girlfriend said, really, that's what you think? I said, I promise you that's what's going to happen, because he has this really white bro dude, like, personality. And I've dealt with those type of people before because it always ends in an altercation from how they, push themselves. And we're sitting there. Night goes on. I'm sitting with everybody at the end of the table. The whole time I'm telling our other friend, yo, Mike needs to come sit down here with us. And she goes, why? I said, he just needs to come down here and sit with us. And then she's like, oh, I feel bad for Mike. I said, exactly. I can feel like something's going to happen. I feel this happening. I'm pretty good at that. Like I said, these situations, I will say, in the African-American community, you have to be good at these situations because you got to know when something's going to pop off. You got to roll. Like, that's when you know. Somebody's pulling out a gun. Something's happening. The altercation's getting... You got to roll. You got to know that feeling. So I'm getting that feeling. I'm still sitting there with Mike. I give him a shot, for our 200 listens because we cheersed up to that. Still thank you guys. But night goes on. He's being rude to the waitress. I'm like, all right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Some more people show up. I'm like, I don't like the vibe of these people either. This is just getting, he's acting weird. Shots on shots, drinks coming in, whatever else like that. So immediately I hear something that's my trigger word. And if you guys know me out there who are my friends, I don't know what it is. If there's some type of altercation, if you call me this word, I might hit you. I don't know. It's something in me. I hear the word, yo, you're a bitch. And I said, hold up. Who is calling somebody? Who's talking to me like that? But then I realized the altercation's with Mike. And I said, oh, here we go. He gets up. He says it again. So at this point, our friends are looking at me. I'm probably the biggest dude out of the group at this point. I'm 5'11", roughly. I'm 265. You know what I'm saying? I'm pushing a little bit, so I can carry myself. So this keeps happening. I'm sitting there, and it's funny as you get older. College days, you might just spring into action, everything else like that. But you got to think about the times. You know what I'm saying? We get in a fight. He called Mike the B word a second. I don't even like saying it. He called him a B word a second time.
Look, it felt rough for me to say it too, so I get it. The B word, yeah, I didn't like it either.
I'm getting fired up, right, just talking about it. But he called Mike the B word a second time.
Getting that explicit tag.
Yeah, so that's something that was triggering to me, and me, I was waiting for Mike, is pretty much where I was at. I was waiting for Mike to react, stand up, and stuff like that. Knowing Mike, I knew it probably wasn't going to happen, but I did see Mike flip a switch a little bit, because I guess the guy was talking about having a good night, and then Mike said, oh, you want to really have a good night? I said, oh, it's going down. It's going down. I'm ready for it. But like I said, it's these type of situations you kind of have to think about the situation and where you're at and what can happen. We could end up in jail. We'd probably be in holding. We're ruining everyone else's night with the restaurant and everything else like that by antagonizing this guy and everything else that's going on. Like I mentioned before, I'm African American. Who knows? We could go with that. Not saying all cops are like that. But, you never know. So it just kept going, and everyone's trying to lash out at him and keeps talking. Mike's sitting there quiet, which, Mike, I applaud him for doing that, but everyone else keeps going at him. And I'm just like, stop. Stop talking to him. So two people stop. His roommate keeps talking to him, the guy who has a little bit of animosity towards me. Still don't know why. Maybe one day I'll confront him about it. I don't know. But I tell him to stop, and he's explaining to me, like, no, like, I was like, just stop. Just stop talking. So eventually everyone stops talking. The guy leaves. I'm like, thank God. We're getting all the bills. I paid for like some stuff. I just wanted to be out of there. And I was like, yo, if he would have stepped to Mike, I probably would have fought him. And, people, this something I hate. I hate talking about it again, but when people are always like, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda, or, he's a man's man, or he knows how to, we are in the street at this point. There's no ring. There's no ref to save you. There's nothing. We got beer bottles, forks, knives, chairs. You're getting hit with something. I don't got time for you. And I'm not a small dude. This dude was all of 5'6", maybe 170. It wasn't happening. It was not happening. And I got Mike's back, so he wasn't doing nothing with him either. I was waiting for him to throw something. I was going to pick him up, give him the Kurt Angle throw over my shoulder. Something was going to happen. But, a little bit later, as things are calming down, me and Mike are walking. We're talking about everything, and we found out that his dad passed. Not giving that him as an excuse to act the way he acted. And, I had someone recently pass, but I deal with my stuff a different type of way. I get to talk to people about it, but, as Mike said, I think there was something deeper going on. And a lot of times I've been seeing people post recently about, how cool is it to be a man? You get to not talk about your feelings all day and then pretty much blow up at somebody later or drink your sorrows away. And that's literally it. And then die. That's it. And I don't like the way that society has pushed us to that point, but it seems like that might have happened to him. It pushed him to drugs or drinking or, wanting to lash out. I've done it before. Mike has done it before, but it's all about what your thinking is after that. I usually don't let it get to that point where it gets physical. I don't let it get to that point where I say something very, very disrespectful. It might happen, and I'll take a step back and say, you know what? Guys, I was having a shitty day. Work was bad. Me and Ashley got in a fight. I shouldn't be taking it on you guys. You guys are my outlet. I should be talking to you guys about what's going on instead of like pushing my, anger on you. So it was a long night, guys. Woo. Mike.
I mean, but like, look, this bottom line, like you said, like we did find out inevitably that there was something kind of, traumatic that had happened to the kid.
Mm-hmm.
In like I said, it's become very clear to me that if you're ever in a situation where there is this level of like significant disrespect for no reason, just because they need to prove themselves,
or they want to get
like,
beat up or feel
like,
physical pain.
Right, like pure toxic masculinity
Yep.
for the sake of destruction, essentially, like self-destruction. I couldn't sit there and listen to how he was essentially like in a derogatory way talking about the server as if she was a prize to be had, and it just wasn't okay. And I said, look, man, just give it a break, cut it down, and let's just go about our evening.
We are not in the medieval times,
because like the thing is, it wasn't me. It was anyone. It could have been anyone who chose to say, tell him to kind of be like, hey, dude, just relax.
Yep.
It didn't matter who it was. He just needed somebody to shout at. And when I realized that was going to be me, yeah, there was a moment where he said like, oh, I'm just trying to have a good night or something. And I said, look, man, this is what I said, because you're right. I did snap a little bit, but I snapped in a way that I knew wasn't going to be very confrontational. I just said, look, man, we were having a wonderful night until you started to get toxic about trying to get this girl's number who has clearly no interest in you. And the fact that you're creating an environment that now is no longer fun, and like it's a problem. And that's when he started coming at me about like, how much money you make and stuff like that. And it's like, I knew. I was like, I've been in enough altercations in my life to know when someone is coming at you at a point of pain, that they are dealing with something so dark that it's manifesting in this anger that they just don't know how to handle elsewise. And I think like you said, like we do exist in a culture where it's not like men, the boys don't cry, right? Like, and like like and like, or at least that's the era that we grew up in. And it's like, boys hide their feelings, boys are tough, boys are brave, boys are essentially like emotionless because they need to always be
strong,
like
and
strong, right. And that's just like
crazy.
And that's just like a glimpse at like how, like, obviously society has ruined like a lot of things for women. Like there are a lot of things that, like, just from like image, all sorts of things, like, what the Instagram influencers say, is the next best workout leggings to buy or whatever. It's a lot of it's just, toxic conformity. And even guys, we exist in it too. Like there is a stigma that we aren't supposed to show our feelings, or if we are feeling something low,
hide it.
We aren't allowed to.
You're viewed as less of a man, and in women's eyes, it's like that too. And that's what's point out. Like if you express yourself too much to a woman, you're deemed not as a man. Sometimes,
in some cases.
So it gets it's crazy.
And in all honesty, as disrespectful as this kid was, like, I genuinely feel bad for the kid. Like I said at the end, I was like, because like, everyone was asking me like, oh, are you okay? Like, are you upset or like, whatever. And even my wife, I was talking about it like a lot the next day, and she goes, Mike, you should let it go. Don't be so hung up on it. And the thing that I was hung up about wasn't the fact that I felt hurt. It was the fact that it made me question a lot of things, because I was like, wow, like this person is seriously like going through something that fueled this situation. And it's just, and it just makes you feel, man, like it's like, wow.
Oh, listen,
like
I'll say
this kid needs a hug.
I'll say the last three things on this. And one, I will say this, especially as you get older, we're not 15, 16, 12, whatever. As you get older, mixing groups is not something you should do. Because, and I'm being serious, like, everyone has different personalities. You're at the point in your life now when you're 25, 26, 30, 24, you should know who you are now. Your personality is pretty much set in stone. You can stray away from that a little bit, but you're kind of who you are at this point. Not a lot of personalities mixed, and that kind of showed at that point. We are not the dude bro guys who want to do all that. Like, we're not alpha toxic males and stuff like that. I know where I'm at. I'm not betting you. I mean, if it was joking and not as serious as that, I'm not betting you money that you're getting some waitress's number. Like, that's not happening. But if we're joking, we can joke around with my friends. I'll be like, yo, you won't do it. But that's different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two, don't, and that goes to anybody out there. Please do not start altercations and all that. Just please talk, because there's a lot of things, and like seeing it in hip hop now and stuff. A lot of people are losing their lives over some dumb stuff. Like, rest in peace. There's this one rapper in New York, King Von. He died, like, in just his scenario on how he died is he had beef with somebody else. And in these terms, it's on site. So that means when I see you, we're fighting, something's happening. He had this beef with this guy named, I think it's something Rondo is his rap name. And he was outside this club, and he was chilling there. And his friend, he had a gun on him. And he pretty much said, yo, I'm not letting you sit outside by yourself. I'm there. So if you got your friend, he's got your back, everything else like that. There's a crowd of dudes that come up. Instead of walking around them, they walked through them, and somebody swung on the rapper. And it was King Von swung on Rondo. His friend pulled out the gun and shot him. Over coming out just to punch you in the face. And this probably could have been resolved just over a conversation. They could have figured it out. And these are the situations where I'm talking about. That kid didn't know if one of us had something on us. You don't know. You could lose your life over some dumb stuff like that. And now, sad that guy lost his life. And also, those guys got to look over their backs for the rest of their lives, because he was defending his friend from 20 guys, and it's just 2 of you. So it's wild. And 3, don't be too proud to go to therapy, guys. I will say that, 100 times over, as a person who goes through depression and stuff like that, I did talk to a therapist for a good bit. I'm at a point in my life where I'm a lot better, and I can, think through a lot of different things. But please do, if you're going through something, don't just go out and drink obnoxiously with your friends and lash out on people that you don't even know from a can of paint. Like, come on now. Sheesh. Right.
Yeah, I mean, just for context, because I think on when we had to do a quick edit there, we lost it. But like, for context, this was a family restaurant. This was like a sports bar. Like this. We were not like in a secluded area even at the bar. We were at a regular, table. A couple tables had been pushed together, and I think next to us was like a young soccer team. There was like a group of moms having cocktails. Like there was it was a family place. And the fact that this kid chose a fight that he wanted in this space was a little messed up. But besides all of this absolute madness, and what else has been going on in the world of grades?
Just to end it on this, in the words of a famous rapper, Drake, why you gotta fight with me at Cheesecake? I love to go there. That's all I gotta say. If you heard the song, But with me, man, the house battle has not won. We didn't come out on top. We lost a couple generals. We're back at the fight, back at the forefront. But like I said, over vacation, I was very excited. We got some letters in the mail. I thought it was going to move forward with the house as far as getting things fixed up. Me and Ashley were in great spirits. We've been depressed a little bit over the past couple of weeks with a lot of stuff going on. We get the letters, and it's like, oh, you need an inspection. So we get the inspection. The most rudest old white man we probably could have got. And once this is back to, what me and Mike were talking about as far as fighting and everything else like that. But I'm not one to take a lot of disrespect. And that's something my father told me. You give me respect, I'll give you respect back. And we'll take it from there. He comes in, my dog, this most scared dog she's scared of everything. She's the tiniest thing. She sits in a corner. She doesn't do nothing. This dude comes in. He's like, oh, you guys going to put her outside? And we're like, no. Or Ashley's downstairs like, no, I wasn't even there yet. He's like, oh, well, I got to come in the kitchen. She was like, okay. My dog, mind you, my dog's on the couch. She just sits there. She don't even care what you're doing because she's just chilling. Our contractor comes in. She sits there. She's looking at him. Then she looks back at the TV because we're watching TV. That's it. So Ashley's like, you know what? I'm just going to put him outside. And me knowing how, older generations are and everything else like that, they like to talk over women's heads. So they like to, do whatever they got to do and get out of the way and just not describe things to people. So I come downstairs. And he comes out the bathroom. He said, how you doing, sir? He said, hello. I said, oh, are you the inspector? He said, yes. I said, oh, okay. Just, we'll be in the living room. If there's anything you need to talk to us about, any clarification you need, because we do have a contractor. He needs a contract before we can get started. Please let us know. I said, oh, okay, yeah. So he's walking around, whistling, checking stuff and whatever else like that. He comes back in the living room. He's like, did you get your heater inspected? We were like, well, we just got a new one in. Like, can you clarify what you mean? He was like, your heater inspected. Like, do you have the inspection? And we were like, mind you, this is 11 a.m. I've gotten in altercations at 7 a.m. in high school. No breakfast, no nothing, just hands. But that's neither here nor there. Don't come in my house disrespectful at 11 a.m. But whatever. So I said, sir, we had a new one put in. We can look for it for 2 seconds if you give us 2 seconds. If you want to keep looking at your stuff. He said, oh, okay. So Ashley's looking at receipts and stuff. And I said, you know what? I think we just got a receipt. We didn't get an inspection. And she was like, oh, okay. Guy's talking to us. He's throwing out stuff like the outlets aren't DPI or DFI protected. They're not blah, blah, blah. They're not this. You don't have a CO2 thing or CO detector upstairs. You don't have one here, blah, blah. Me trying to get clarification. I'm like, what outlets are you describing? He said, oh, the one upstairs, the one in the kitchen, the one. I was like, there's multiple in all of these areas. Be specific. So he's like, the one near the stove. There's one upstairs. You need the CO in the hallway upstairs. There's a hole in the wall where the bathroom is upstairs in the master bathroom. I'm like, great. Our contractor's fixing that. So you can just cross that off the list. This should have been done months ago, like last summer. So eventually I get tired of it. And me getting tired of people, I just say, okay, we sign off whatever we sign off. He creates a list and we send it out. Guy leaves. Thank God. So Ashley's all in a fluster. She's annoyed. And we're already kind of stressed before we left for vacation. So we get to the contractor. We tell him what's going on. He was like, geez, these guys don't quit, do they? And I'm like, no, apparently not. They just don't care. They just want to do what they got to do. And they just want to be rude about it. So he was here today. He was fixing up a lot of stuff. But I've slowly started to realize like all this stuff is taking a toll on, me, Ashley, and, on our relationship too, because she was kind of quiet and she was, I could tell she wasn't like brooding, but she was depressed walking around and everything else like that, giving me short answers. And I texted her, I was like, listen, I'm always here if you need to talk. I've been going through some stuff. I know you've been going through some stuff. It's life, and she's talking to me about everything going on. She's just been depressed. Me and her haven't been able to hang out, so we haven't been, connecting a lot. And I'm like, I understand. Because on top of the house, I only work part-time, so I'm door dashing. So if I door dash in the afternoon, Ashley wakes up, I'm gone. So that's, we don't get to see each other. But we sat down and we had a nice conversation about everything, and it kind of brought some stuff to light. And, once again, talk to a therapist, talk to your significant other, get some stuff rolling. But we're in a better headspace now. But we're not out of it anytime soon. We're not out of it because we still got to get some stuff checked out. But, I took the liberty upon myself. I said, you know what? I want to stay at this job, but I got to make ends meet. So I'm thinking about maybe applying somewhere to be a bartender or a bar back as a second job to get some more money. And that way I can pick the days I want to go, and that way I can have a steady income that'll help out the bills and get this ring whenever I want to propose to her and stuff. So there's things that need to happen. And until I do that, I just got to make ends meet, but tighten your belt and, get to work. So it's been rough these past 2 weeks, but I'm still in better spirits. That vacation definitely helped me out a lot, but that is my life right now. So,
dude, inspectors are nuts, man. I remember when I was buying my house, we almost put some bids on some other houses. So, and to get the to be able to put down a good price, like it's sometimes advantageous to get an inspection on the place prior to even buying it. Just being like, yo, I'm going to pay for an inspection on this place. So we did that on a few spots, and it's really wild. Like the difference in like what one inspector would say versus another. I mean, we never got a house inspected twice, but we had more than one inspector than per house we went through. And like it's interesting what some of them would look for and what others wouldn't, or like what others would be like, it's all right, versus others that would be like, this has to be changed.
Yep.
So like I totally feel your pain on that one to some degree, and it's hard, dude. We had things that like eventually were okay for the sale, but even us now, we're like, we probably should still get that fixed.
Yep.
Like, it sucks, but like it is an important part of the process. And so even though it was rough, I'm glad it's over for you guys. And now you're in the next step of, getting that stuff, fixed, put together with your contractor. So you're in the thick of it, but I think you're coming out on top.
It's wild, man.
Soon enough.
I will say, like I said, that's what I told her. I said, fortunately, at least we're in the house. You know what I mean? So at least we got it. Life's hard right now, guys. Especially going out to all you guys. Listen, if you need a therapist, I know there's one place that you can talk to therapists online through video cameras, anything else like that. We're in a pandemic. We're locked up. We have to wear masks. You can't really go on vacations. I know it's a lot of people's way to clear their heads and everything else like that. Ashley's like that. She likes to go out on vacations. And I generally notice a lot of different, behavior when she comes back. She's happier. She gets to relieve herself and stuff. But, if you need to talk to anybody, talk to someone, man. You're never too proud. Telling you right now, white, black, purple, talk to somebody, please. So you can get yourself out of that. But guys, that's the first part, and we're rolling into the second one strong. After a word from our sponsors. Sheesh, I still wanted you to fight that guy, Mike. I'm just saying, man. God,
I'm not a fighter, man.
I know. Listen, I listen. I might have pulled something.
I definitely am more of a debater. Like I could talk you out of a fight, I would throw punches with words essentially, mm-hmm. But the other party would always be the first one to get physical.
The B word is just saying it is like it's like my brain is tingling. Like it's.
Yeah, dude, I don't like saying it either, and it's just like it's very. Yeah, that was. I don't know, man. Like I felt like. As soon as he started coming at me, I felt like punched out of my body. Like I was almost like
Mike. I want to let you know when I was here. I was here with it. This was already cocked. When he went to Carolyn and said, "Your husband's a B word," literally, I was about to push Jamie out the way, and it was coming for him. It was coming from the floor. It was woo. It was gonna be a Hadouken from right. It was gonna. I was oof boy.
I know.
And it would have been on.
It wouldn't have been worth it.
It wouldn't have been.
But I understand why.
You call me a B word to my face is one thing. Saying it to my significant other, I gotta put you in the grave. That is ridiculous. and I have another story that's kind of like that. Maybe we'll touch that on another podcast. But
sure.
Woo-wee! Yeah, man. Good God.
Pretty wild.
Sheesh. What do we have? Gateway experience. I'm glad we didn't lose everything. So we're like I said, we're good. It's going to be a seamless cut. It's
okay.
We've brought it right back on the rhythm. So
can I just would like to shout out. I mean, this is obviously not in the podcast, but like the dude that was shouting at me, like he makes a smooth annual salary before tax of around like just under 20K. So he makes 19,500, and like a year, 19,500. And so like that, like
how do you live off of that? First of all, I make like at least 40, but
yeah, right. Like you can't exactly like you can't really live on under 40. At least you shouldn't be. Like there's so much you need 40 at least.
At least, and I'm still skating by. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I was like, yo, I make more than double this dude's salary. Like you can't flex at me.
That's the number one thing that guys go to. It's I either make more than you, I have a more attractive wife / girlfriend, or my dick's bigger. It's pretty much it. That's literally the only thing that guys go to, and it's
I was like, in my head, I was like, yo, I'm not only am I married, I found the woman of my dreams, but I own my own house.
Mm-hmm.
Like I own my own house, and I definitely this kid. He's something else. But all right. I can bring us back in from the break.
Right. Sounds good.
And then I'll dive into this like headspacey little thing.
I'm excited to hear more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I got like a little general gist about it, and then be interested to kind of hear your take on it. It'll be kind of like a recap of what I was talking about the other day.
Mine's kind of the same with the Falcon and Winter Soldier, but you don't really need like a backstory on it. I'm gonna explain it, and you'll get it like that because you've seen a lot of the episodes, and I think you've probably picked up on some of the hints they've mentioned.
Oh, I get it totally. Yeah.
So we'll get into it.
It makes sense. All right, cool. So you sort of count me in.
And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everybody. So now we're into the meat of the show. We're going to talk about some topics that that myself and Graves have been interested in over the past week or so. And so the first one I wanted to bring to the table was based on a Vice article I read. The article itself, let me just get to the top of it. Literally, like, this is why it grabbed me so hard, because like, I don't know, I'm into like interesting stuff. I'm into stuff that like thought-provoking stuff. But the title of the article is called "How to Escape the confines of time and space according to the CIA. And I was like, bet, I'm in. Like I need to read this. And this was published, just credits to Toby Campion, February 16, 2021. So relatively recently, within the past past month or so.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about these documents that were recently declassified by the CIA. It talks about this thing called the Gateway tapes, the Gateway Experience. This was created by a person named Robert Monroe back in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
It was studying consciousness and like the ability of like what's possible through meditation, and things like that. Specifically, the article here, I'll quote it. It states, Robert Monroe, a radio broadcasting executive, begins producing evidence that specific sound patterns have identifiable effects on human capabilities. Again, this is directly from that Vice article. And that just was, I was like, I'm really big into just like consciousness. I enjoy reading books about like law of attraction, stuff like that, like all about energy and vibration. So I was like, wow, okay, so this is like a government agency like CIA finally like admitting that something like this is maybe possible. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been really fascinated by like meditating, but I never really knew like what meditating was or like how it really worked. I was like, okay, so I sit somewhere quietly and self-reflect. That's meditating. And of course, that is meditating, but like I never really understood like how far it could go. And then I started learning about like monks and people who like dedicate like whole like large portions of their life to learning the arts of meditation and chi and like and energy and all this stuff. And so I was like, well, okay, maybe there's something to this. I got to understand what this is. I got to check it out. And I started learning about that. This guy, Robert Monroe, published these cassette tapes called the Gateway Experience. It's a total of, I think, 18 tracks, and then multiple like sessions within, broken down into waves.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's like almost like a hypnosis meditation, like guided meditation, about how to basically put your brain into what they call a hemisync situation, where basically both sides of your brain are able to be firing at the same time or something, using a binaural beat. So a frequency in one ear and a frequency in the other ear, and then your brain kind of equalizes and picks the outlier tone. Again, super heady stuff. So like I maybe I've lost a few of you, but either way, what's super cool is these tapes are available for free currently. I think they keep getting changed, but currently they're available on YouTube. If you just search the Gateway tapes, you can find them. And so far I'm up to tape number 3, just kind of exploring what this is doing. And so far it's been very just casual. It's just this guy, he gives you these breathing techniques, and then he helps you like center yourself. And he starts you off kind of putting you into what he calls a focus 3 meditative state, where you're kind of just really just peaceful. It's just kind of nothingness, but you're just restful, and you come out of it feeling very like rejuvenated, kind of like you took a brief nap, but you were conscious the whole time. So now I'm on the cassette 3, and each cassette is on like or tape 3. Each one is only like 25-30 minutes long. On the number 3, they take you down to what's known as focus 10, and it's I don't know, it's so bizarre because you're such in a deep meditative state, but like you're still fully aware of what you're doing. You could move your body, you're not paralyzed, but you feel this. The only way I can describe it to anybody is if you've ever like gone swimming and blew some air out and then sat on the bottom of the pool, or were underwater. That feeling of being underwater, floating underwater, is essentially the feeling that I got like when I started to try this out. And I don't know. I guess the tapes get apparently very visual. You end up going. I think they said something in the article. It's like the whole purpose is to learn how to click out, or like astral project is another way to say it.
Yeah.
And it talks about how like when we dream, we're dreaming on essentially the astral plane, and it's essentially what we do every night, but we do it essentially involuntarily. It's just what our body does. So this is a way of being able to do it, but kind of having more control. the article talks about kind of how like it can be used for originally was designed to be used as for like military use or something, but it kind of lost a lot of its funding. And it wasn't until 2017 that 12 million documents related to this exercise were released, and it would later become known to be called Project Stargate, which I think or Gate was that right? Project Stargate. Hold on, let me find it in this very, very long article. But either way,
Mike is finding it.
That's some crazy stuff. Like absolutely crazy.
CIA has done some interesting things, but it doesn't surprise me because, if you think about America and people realize what America is, we try and get 1 foot up always, no matter what it is, spiritual, physical, military, whatever it is. If we can get an edge and we seem like it's plausible, which it's very plausible because we've seen monks and certain people. Like I was telling Mike, I recently saw a video of a monk going up against a professional UFC fighter. I don't know why a lot of those guys have that stigma where they're like, "Yo, this ain't nothing." You've seen monks literally break stones and stuff like that, but in the matter of seconds, this dude threw and he knows how to fight, so he threw a punch, and I knew it was a punch where he was going to follow up with an uppercut. The monk dodged it, and then the second one came. He went under it, brought his foot up, kicked him in the side of his head. The guy fell flat on his behind, probably like 2 feet. So you can understand where things like this, where tapping into certain parts in your mind and your body, where you can put a special type of force with just a little bit of a tap on someone, is very intriguing to very powerful people in the higher up. So if we could get soldiers like that, I understand that's probably where they were going to. So wild stuff, man.
Dude, it feels like, I don't know, it feels like the closest thing to like real virtual reality, like augmented reality. I don't know. Like, again, I haven't gone that deep into it. There's some people on like YouTube and TikTok that have been like, I've been through all the tapes and like I've seen the source, and like it gets kind of super heady. Yeah, it gets really heady, and it's like, well, it seems like that's the general consensus. If you get through this whole thing, you have some profound experience. So I don't know. Like, I'm kind of guinea pigging myself.
I'm interested. I'm going in.
And I'm diving in. And trying it out. I don't know. If you have any experience out there, if you're listening to this and you've tried any of the Gateway tapes or done anything like that, we'd love to hear from you.
Almost.
You can always hit us at the Twitter at PodHumble.
Or
yes, and I was corrected. They did later
Stargate.
Call the thing Project Stargate, which is pretty wild.
That sounds like
I know. Like it sounds like it's out of a comic book. Like it sounds.
Yeah. Project Stargate. They're awakening Project Stargate again. Oh no, that's what it sounds like. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, guys, that I'm definitely gonna tap into it with you, Mike. I'm probably gonna do it one of these days. I do want to get more into meditating and understanding myself. That I did that a lot. When I was doing therapy and everything else like that. I'm trying to understand why you feel a certain way, or getting in touch with the inner voice in your head and where they're at with certain things. So, guys, the next thing I want to talk about is the Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're not going to recap. We got one more episode for next Friday, so maybe we'll do a full-on recap and do comic book-wise. But I've been seeing a lot of hate towards like Black creators on TikTok and YouTube when it comes to this show. And it kind of just shows me the lack of knowledge that a lot of the general American population has and certain things like that. This show, not to spoil anything, this show shows what the world is ready for as far as like things that are happening. Just like when we got Obama as a president and he's the first Black president, a lot of people had a lot to say about that and everything else like that.